Hello everyone, and welcome back to EA James, my channel that is all about gaming, music, and my overall thoughts on different games from my childhood as well as upcoming releases. Today, I'm bringing to you one memory from my childhood. With the holiday season approaching, we really remember the adventure that we have been on this year. And what better adventure to talk about than The Legend of Zelda, A Wind Waker. Now, this game holds a big portion of my heart because I remember getting this at 10 years old, popping it into my GameCube, and playing for many hours. I remember having to go do chores and coming back and playing hours. I remember leaving it on so long that you forget to save, you have to turn it off, and you lose your progress. This game really spoke to me because I was not the most outgoing child. I used to like to immerse myself in video games, to lose myself in their reality. And I think that's one of the reasons why big adventures and RPGs speak so much to me, because you can actually transplant yourself into a whole different world, a whole different persona even. And so I really want to talk about the journey that you experience in this game. You start out as a young boy named Link, and he's not the usual Link that we're used to. He's a little awkward, he's lazy. He doesn't really fit the role of the hero destined to help the world. In fact, you find him sleeping inside of a lighthouse when it begins. After he's woken up by his sister Errol, he goes on this exploration adventure to explore the island, and this really opens up your feelings of adventure. You start out in this basic village with just your grandmother, a crazy sword master, a brainiac professor who lives above him, and the overall children of the island making up the experience. You get your first trials with the sword master to really feel out the combat, and it changes a whole bunch of aspects from other games, the biggest being a parry aspect. When you are Z-targeting the foe, the A button will light up at just the right moment and you can parry their attacks. And this is essential for later foes in the game. After getting a share of the combat and the experience of the island, you'll notice some pirates, and a girl is dropped down after you view her through the binoculars, because it's your birthday, and Arrow wanted to surprise you. So you go after the girl, using the bridge to follow into the first forest, and here you get your first experience with the enemies of the game. Just simple bokoblins, dressed up in a piratey theme, to explore the open waves. You save this girl whose name is Tetra. And Tetra is a very fun, angsty, confident young woman who says that she's here to take you on your adventure. So, you go back and speak with your grandmother, get your clothes, and set off. Now you'll notice immediately how expansive and even kind of desolate the world seems. You follow a large ocean, covering sparse islands in each different portion of the grid-like map. And this is one of my biggest complaints to start the game, is after going through a couple trials, you end up on Windfall Island. You experience more of the town people, their quirks, their adventures, and you decide you're going to go to the Forsaken Fortress. Now, your plan of entering doesn't go quite the way as expected. You're launched through a barrel, but you don't land appropriately and you lose your sword. And this ends up being one of the most tiresome portions of the game. You go through a stealth mission essentially, where different moblins and enemies will throw you in jail on sight if they see you. And if not, you have to sneak around painstakingly in a barrel, hoping to avoid their fire and their spears. And as soon as you get through that, and the searchlights and the lanterns, and finally get your sword back, stealth is never explored again in the game. It seems almost like padding to help you explore the fortress so that you can get a feel for the dungeon, but it doesn't cohesively work. It makes it feel tiresome and like you don't really get the full experience and even a good payoff. You recover what you already had And then when you come back here later, you don't ever use the barrels for stealth again. You can't even use the barrels. They just are a prop at this point in time, to be broken or thrown. After this point, you go off to Dragon Roost Island, and you discover that you need to get 3 sacred orbs. Now, these orbs are used to help you get the Master Sword. Through exploring the island, you get feeling from new people, the Ruto, the Kokiri, who now have become these wonderful tree people called the Koroks, and the journey really feels expansive. Even though it's smaller, you actually get to explore 5 different dungeons, all with very different themes. From a fiery magma, to a tree-lined forest, to a temple of the ancients surrounded by different changing tides. And even the biggest portion of why it's called the Wind Waker, you receive the Wind Waker. And I know some people aren't fond of this factor, but you use different songs to change the wind and to use other functions in the game to really help you understand how the world works. You change the wind to help you sail. You meet this man named the King of the Red Lions. And the King of the Red Lions actually is integral to your journey. He's your boat, and he gives you a sail. And with this, you can explore the world. Now, you can choose to tackle the dungeons and go on appropriately. Or you can move to each different island, seeing what the world has to see. And I know some people don't appreciate the ocean, but I love how soothing it is. How fantastic that background music is when you're sailing, giving you this feeling of exploration. Now, as you progress, you will then get to 2 large dungeons. The dungeon where you have to conquer the shadow, and the dungeon where you have to conquer the wind. And these are to help you restore the Master Sword, which you found encased in a temple that is completely frozen in time. And unfortunately, due to the time that has elapsed, the Master Sword has lost its power. Now, through going through these areas, you actually encounter 2 very familiar faces, Medley and Makar. And they help you traverse the dungeons in various new ways, either through a possession aspect that you use through your Wind Waker, or through helping Makar lift you on the air currents. These help you restore the power of the Master Sword. And then unfortunately, the biggest issue that people have with the game begins. You have to go on a Triforce hunt. And some of these are very simple, very easy to understand. But the problem is the way in which you have to get them. You have to find the Triforce chart in an area. You have to bring it to Tingle, who is a staple of the series, but this time he's a money-grabbing person, wanting 398 rupees per chart. And unfortunately, you have to do this multiple times. You have to go, bring him the chart, get it decoded, and then go and find it. And then even after that point, you sometimes have to do mini dungeons to discover the different pieces of the Triforce. After you get the Triforce assembled, you go back to the temple frozen in time, where you learn that the King of the Red Lions is actually King Hyrule. And Tetra, who has been with you this whole time, is actually Princess Zelda. And using the Triforce, you're able to break a barrier that Ganon has enacted, and then explore the final area of the game, Ganon's Fortress. Now here is one of the issues I have with the game, where Zelda actually loses a little bit of her flair. As Tetra, she's strong and adventurous, very confident and sure of herself, leading her crew. But then she becomes Princess Zelda, and she can't even lead. She is completely forced to focus on Link, and loses all equalness, all cohesion with Link to create a strong partnership, and instead becomes just another tool for the light arrows to help defeat Ganon. Now, I love this game because of how expansive it is, how easy it is to get to. But I really think that with the remastering that it got for the Wii U, and even hopefully with a port for the Switch, that it will help expand or maybe even add some content to it to create a deeper and more fulfilling story that we can explore. I thank you all again for watching with me, and I hope to upload these every Thursday from now on. If you have any questions or anything I can help clarify, or any other topics that you'd like to see, please list them in the comments below. And if you like this, please leave a like, subscribe, and I hope to see you all again soon.